Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Kimberly Benson Durst, and it's up to you. And we have another broadcast today that we are going to continue on with our series, The Open Door Abuse and Trauma Recovery. This one specifically, we're continuing on from yesterday from the male perspective. One of the things that isn't often talked about is how men tend to respond to abuse and trauma. Oftentimes, it is taken into account how men and women are vastly different, and that's true, and how they respond to trauma and abuses are very, very different. It's also very rare to automatically think of men being abused. They're often miscategorized as the aggressor or the abuser. But most people don't assume that men even get abused. Think about when someone goes to a domestic violence call. The very first thing the police may think about, or when you hear there was a domestic violence call, it's usually a man that's hitting a woman. That's stigma, right? They assume that they had to be the assailant and they take him right on to jail, even if he's got scratches and bruises and scars, right? The very idea of a man getting physically abused by a woman sometimes just seems absurd, right? But because men can physically thwart off a woman's attack, it doesn't mean that necessarily the man was an aggressor or that he would actually do that. Because a lot of men are brought up not to lay a hand on a woman, not to fight a woman, and they're really taught how to be able to defend themselves, but they're never taught to defend themselves against their own wives. I mean, even think about it. The very word battering typically is associated with a man who's being, the aggressor. But you never really think about the man who himself is experiencing crippling fear, helplessness, extreme anxiety in response to physical aggression by a potential female significant other. Physically, yeah, men are typically bigger than their female partners and usually aren't scared, typically, of a female because they know they could, by sheer strength alone, restrain themselves from their significant other. However, it is usually the opposite response. If a male is being battered or hurt, they typically introvert and they don't talk about it. Another thing is men and boys who've been sexually assaulted, and I also want to make sure to say this: it's not always a female on a male. It could be male to male. I'm just using that as an example, right? But we also want to talk about men and boys who've been sexually assaulted. They may experience very much the same effects as other sexual assault survivors, but sometimes they face challenges that are very unique to their experience. Men who are sexually abused as boys and teens tend to respond very differently than men who were sexually assaulted as an adult. Many men who've been sexually assaulted a lot of times will feel alone. And the research is between 1 in 5 and 1 in 6 men have been sexually assaulted before they even reach adulthood. It's a really sad scenario, right? The other piece is there's a lot of common experiences shared by men and boys who have survived sexual assault and abuse as well. So we're going to kind of talk and highlight some of these. Men or boys may experience anxiety, depression, fearfulness, and even PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. They may have concerns or questions about sexual orientation. Part of what we had talked about earlier is that we're going to try to do what we could to destigmatize mental health, and we need to do that also about people who are trying to understand where they are in reference to their sexuality. Do not continue to judge anyone going through anything, whether it's trauma-based or exploration or just trying to figure out who they are. This world is complicated enough. Let's embrace people who are trying to figure out who they are, what they want, and give them the place to do so safely. That's really what we really like to concentrate here on. It's up to you. Some other things that they might feel: a sense of blame or shame over not being able to stop the abuse or the assault. The other thing that's really scary, and we've heard a lot of different people talk about over the years, is that if there's any physiological response to a male who might be sexually assaulted, for instance, they actually get aroused, and it isn't because they want it. A physiological response happens without someone trying. This doesn't mean someone wanted the sexual assault. So let's just make sure that, again, we're destigmatizing that if you have any kind of physiological reaction in your body, that doesn't mean you wanted it, that you enjoyed it, that that's something that now is what you're desiring. So again, destigmatize. The other feelings might be feeling on edge, unable to relax, having trouble sleeping, getting to sleep, staying asleep, or even having night terrors. Some males may feel less of a man, or that they can't control their own body. They may avoid people or places that might have memories associated with the assault or abuse, or that may make them feel afraid. They may fear the worst thing happening, have a sense of a shortened future, withdraw from relationships, even isolating. It's important to know that they might feel ashamed, they might be embarrassed, they may have anger and guilt, they might feel bad about themselves, they can't control their family or friends. These are all feelings that they might have. Let me just let you know that if you're a male that has been abused or traumatized, you're not crazy. I know it's a whole lot going on. So, coming forward about any type of abuse, assaults, sexual assaults, any of those things can be difficult, male or female. But I know it requires a lot of trust and understanding for sure. Whether you're a male or a female, or you're unsure of how you categorize, anything like that. One of the things that we want to make sure to share with you is that if something has happened to you, regardless, you are not alone. There are a lot of people who have been experiencing this very same thing, and we wanted to make sure to tell you not only are you not alone, but this is indeed a safe place for you to be able to thrive. If you need anything, you need support, anything like that, we are here to help you. You can check out in the comments how to get a hold of us at It's Up to You. Again, I'm Dr. Kimberly Benson Durst. See you next time for the next episode.